Hello and good evening. Today it is Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. And for this video today, I will be concluding my current ongoing 5-part video series where I started off by doing a couple videos about the Coyotes. And for the past 2 videos, I have been discussing, at first I discussed my thoughts on Utah getting an NHL team. And in my last video, I shared my thoughts on the Utah Hockey Club jerseys. Now, after I sat down and watched that video, I forgot to mention and acknowledge the Utah Hockey Club logos that they came up with for this past season in terms of their temporary branding. And you know what? I didn't mention it in my last video, but I'll quickly mention it here. I actually thought that the Utah Hockey Club logos that the NHL and Utah came up with for this past season was actually not terrible. Overall, I thought that the logos for a temporary branding were actually pretty decent. But for this video today, I will be sharing my thoughts on Utah's new name. As you can see there, they're the Utah Mammoth. I'll be sharing my thoughts on their logos. And I will also be sharing my thoughts on their updated jerseys, because now that they are the Utah Mammoth, they have decided to make some tweaks to their jerseys. So let's start off with the name. The truth is, I was really rooting for the Utah Yetis to be the name, or even Utah Yeti. However, the U.S. Trademark Office, I believe, are the ones that rejected the Utah Yeti trademark because of a potential likelihood of confusion with the the Yeti cooler brand. And when I saw that, I was kind of scratching my head thinking, are you kidding me? If people cannot discern between a hockey team called the Utah Yeti and Yeti coolers, then as far as I'm concerned, if humanity is that stupid, our society is cooked. Our civilization on this planet is cooked. It's just, we're screwed. Like, if you can't tell the two apart, I mean, come on. I mean, look at the Seattle Kraken and Kraken Rum. Let me ask you, the viewer, this. Are you telling me that you can't discern between Kraken Rum and a hockey team called the Seattle Kraken? Of course you can discern the two. I mean, what, do they think that we're all a bunch of idiots or something? Like, come on, people. I thought that was really dumb. Honestly, that is one of the dumbest things I have heard in 2025. And with social media and the internet, there are a lot of dumb things that I see almost on a daily basis. But that one, in my opinion, really took the cake. Like, come on, people. But as I say that about the Utah Yeti name, I was disappointed that Utah could not call themselves the Yeti. I thought it was a cool name, but although that did not work out, I will say this. I do think that Utah Mammoth is not a bad choice. Now, I was hoping that if they were going to go with Mammoth, they would have used Mammoths, plural. But the longer that I've seen this team be known as the Utah Mammoth, the more that I've been able to accept it. I mean, if you jumped in a time machine and you jumped back like 3,000 years and you saw a herd of mammoths, you would probably say it like this: oh, hey, look at that herd of mammoth. When you think of it like that, I think the name Utah Mammoth does work. And honestly, compared to names like the Utah Wasatch that was considered, sticking with the Utah Hockey Club branding, and Utah Outlaws, I definitely think that, considering the situation that the Utah Hockey Club was in with selecting a name, I do think that Mammoth was the best choice, and I do like the name. And at first, I was disappointed it wasn't plural, as in mammoths, but I will take Mammoth over the other options any day that they were, of course, allowed to pick. So, although it didn't work out completely, it was kind of a win-lose-lose-win situation, if you get my drift. But now let's talk about the logo. So let me see if I can pull up a picture here. Okay, I will jump to those pictures later. So I apologize for the really bad quality of this photo, but this shows you some mock-ups that they came up with here with what the jerseys would look like with these crests that they came up with here. So notice in the bottom left corner that the Utah Mammoth logo that they proposed initially is not what they ended up going with. What they ended up going with looks like a fusion between the Utah Hockey Club Yeti logo that was proposed and the Mammoth logo. And honestly, I think that the hybrid logo that they created as the final product for the Utah Mammoth was the best result that they could have come up with out of what they came up with. Now, if you notice that my voice sounds a little rough, I am dealing with a bit of a nasty cold right now, so I hope it's not too much. I apologize if my voice is a little raspy and a little off at times, but I'm doing the best I can. But honestly, I just want to get this series over with, so bear with me. But one thing I do respect about Utah is that even though they couldn't go with the Yeti branding and the name, I like that they did offer the Utah Hockey Club name with a Yeti logo anyway. So I thought I'd quickly give them a tip of the hat for that. But in terms of this logo, it's very modern, it's very abstract, and honestly, I think they could have done worse. I think they also could have definitely done better as well, but to me, this is not the worst logo in the NHL. It's not a bad logo. I think it could have been better, but I think it also could have been a whole lot worse. And in my opinion, this logo does look a little bit clip arty, but I don't think it's terrible. Notice that the tusk, I think it's kind of meant to form a subtle U for Utah, and notice this little subtle M for Mammoth. I think that's kind of clever, and I like that they took the Mountain Peak idea from their proposed Hockey Club Yeti logo and merged it with the Mammoth logo that they initially proposed. There's one thing that I would have done to this logo that I think would have provided an amazing fan service. Now, if you've been paying attention to a lot of requests on social media, I noticed that there were a lot of people clamoring for Utah to adopt purple. Why do people say that? Because it's a color that no one uses, not even the Los Angeles Kings. They seem to be completely resistant on even having a purple third jersey, which is a bummer. Hopefully that's going to change in the next few years, but I highly doubt it. But with Utah here, what I would have done, and it's a small detail that I think would have been a wonderful fan service for that, I would have made the eye of the Mammoth purple. Just like how the Buffalo Sabres have the eye in their buffalo in their logo red, I would have made the eye of the Mammoth here purple. And at least it would have given the fans a little bit of fan service. And I think it would have been a great way to guarantee that purple somehow got weaseled into their color scheme. And I think that with Utah, with the Utah Jazz going back to purple as their main color again, and rightfully so, I also think that was part of why a lot of people were clamoring for Utah to adopt purple. But besides making the eye purple, I think that for the first logo in franchise history, now that they finally have a name, I think that Utah actually didn't do too bad. I don't dislike this logo. And another thing too, I'm just glad, as I said in my last video for anyone who watched it, I'm just glad that Utah actually has a name, and that they didn't stick with Hockey Club. So this is the secondary logo. Notice the tusk from their logo around the letter U for Utah. So this secondary logo is not going to be on the jerseys themselves, but it will be on the pants. And you know what? I think that's plenty. I think the fact that they just got it on the pants is plenty enough. I mean, for this being their first logo set in franchise history, I mean, as a secondary logo, it's nothing special. So and it's kind of mediocre, in my opinion, but to have it on the pants, I think is actually, I like it better than it being on the shoulders. So, okay, I will get to these jerseys. I'll go back to these again a little bit later on in the video. Let's get to what the jerseys look like, because that's the biggest, well, I'd say elephant in the room, but I'll use the term biggest mammoth in the room for obvious reasons. Now that they have a name, and now that they are the Utah Mammoth, these are their updated jerseys for next season. So in my last video, I raised a bit of a stink about the solid mountain blue collar here on the hockey club's away jersey on the left, and that it could have really used a black collar outline. Ironically, I noticed last night when I put these pictures together for this video that Utah actually updated the collar on their away jersey, but instead of doing the sensible thing with a black outline on the collar, they went with a white outline. I mean, at least they got an outline, but the white one, I think, was the wrong decision. But as for the black jersey, that was the one in my last video that I said would be the biggest downgrade, because I think that Utah's word mark from last season was a simple classic look, and it looked very nice. But the more that I see the Mammoth logo on this jersey, the more that I can accept it. It's still going to look good. In my opinion, it's just not going to be as good. And also notice the captain patches with a new letter font. I'll get into that a little later. So let's start by looking at the shoulder patch here on the home jersey. Notice the diagonal Utah word mark within a silhouette of the state of Utah with a hockey stick. I mean, I think that they could have come up with a better shoulder patch in my opinion, or even just left the shoulders blank. But it's not great, but I think what I would have done in that case is I would have just taken the secondary logo here and simply put that in a silhouette of the state of Utah and put that on the shoulders of the home jersey. But as I say, I think the home jersey looks fine with the logo on the front. And hey, at least they actually have a name. So now I want to get to the away jersey. So notice that it's still going to have the Utah word mark on the front of it. But notice that they've changed the font of the word mark. And now they have the Mammoth logo on the shoulders. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the most pointless jerseys or jersey changes that I've... Sorry, guys. One of the most pointless jersey changes that I have seen. Honestly, to me, this is about as pointless as the Los Angeles Kings white third jersey from a few years ago with the chrome helmets that essentially took their 80s or late 80s, early 90s white throwback jersey from the Gretzky era and slightly docked it up with the glittery silver and a slightly different striping style. And the chrome buckets from their Stadium Series jersey in 2020. I mean, and I'll quickly touch base on that jersey. Like, if they would have made that jersey a glittery silver instead of white, okay, I could have absolutely accepted that as a third jersey. But when they had just worn the white throwback jersey from the early 90s, it was so pointless. And when I look at this Utah Mammoth updated away jersey, to me, it is such a pointless update. I mean, if this is what they were going to do and they wanted to change the jersey, you know what I would have rather seen them do? I would have rather seen them simply take the shoulder patch and just make their Mammoth primary logo the logo on their away jersey as well. If this is all they were going to do because they wanted to change it anyway, I wish they would have just stuck the Mammoth logo on both sweaters and called it a day. Like, if you're going to change it, actually change it. And as I say that too, I mean, the word mark is still fine. But the word mark from last season, in my opinion, was much, much nicer. It had a more timeless feel to it, in my opinion. But yeah, when you look at these jerseys from last season and you look at them now, I mean, I like the Mammoth logo on the home jersey, but as I said in my last video, when they made these jerseys for the Utah Hockey Club, I mean, they set the bar so high that, as I said in my last video, that to update the jerseys would probably be a downgrade. And I still think that these are a downgrade, even though I still think they look good. I just think that last season, as you can see here, I think they looked better. Now, if you agree with me or do you disagree with me, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. But now, let's show you guys a picture of what the uniforms will look like front and back. So notice the updated letter and number font. I prefer the block font that they had on these sweaters last season as the Utah Hockey Club. But overall, besides that, also notice the secondary logo here on the pants. Overall, I still think that these uniforms are going to look fine next season. I mean, yeah, the striping on both jerseys are mismatched, but hey, they could have done worse. They could have done a lot worse. And I think that considering this team had a temporary branding last season and then had a bit of a frustrating time coming up with a name that they could actually get the trademark for, I do think that the Mammoth overall have done an alright job so far. So the new font I don't like as much, but hey, as I say, it could be worse. Now, there's a picture of two of the Mammoth players that were drafted at the draft this past week wearing these jerseys. And honestly, they still look pretty decent, even though I liked the Hockey Club black jersey better than the Mammoth black jersey. So now moving forward, what I'm hoping for is that the Mammoth, when it's time for them to unveil a third jersey down the road, which I hope they don't do it right away, in the next season or two, I'd like them to wait for at least one more season before launching a third jersey, which I think they will. But as I said in my last video, if they simply just invert the colors of their home jersey with the Mammoth logo on the front, I think it would be a great choice. And on top of that, I'd love to see that eventually become their home jersey. I mean, if Utah is not going to embrace purple as their color, at least embrace this beautiful mountain blue color that you've decided to use. That should be their main home jersey color, not black. So, but anyways, although I think these jerseys are a downgrade from last season, I do think that overall they could have been a lot worse, and they're still going to look fairly decent on the ice moving forward. But anyways, I'm going to make this video shorter than the last video, so I'm going to call it a wrap at this point. But how do you guys feel about these jerseys? Do you think they're an upgrade, or do you agree with me that they're not as good as what they were wearing last season? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, but at this point, I'm going to call it a wrap. So until my next video, you guys take care, and as always, bye for now.